Well, hello, church family. Today, my devotional is from the book of Genesis, the very first book of the Bible. And I want to read to you from Genesis chapter 22 today, a very familiar story to many of you, I'm sure, but the story of Isaac and his father Abraham. And I want to begin with verse 1 of chapter 22. It says, "After these things, God tested Abraham and said to him, 'Abraham, here I am,' he answered. 'Take your son,' he said, 'your only son, Isaac, whom you love. Go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains I will tell you about.' So Abraham got up early in the morning, saddled his donkey, and took with him two of his young men and his son Isaac. He split wood for a burnt offering and set out to go to the place God had told him about. On the third day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. Then Abraham said to his young men, 'Stay here with the donkey. The boy and I will go over there to worship. Then we'll come back to you.' Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and laid it on his son Isaac. In his hand he took the fire and the knife, and the two of them walked on together. Then Isaac spoke to his father Abraham and said, 'My father.' And he replied, 'Here I am, my son.' Isaac said, The fire and the wood are here, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?' Abraham answered, 'God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son.' Then the two of them walked on together. When they arrived at the place that God had told him about, Abraham built the altar there and arranged the wood. He bound his son Isaac and placed him on the altar on top of the wood. Then Abraham reached out and took the knife to slaughter his son. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, 'Abraham, Abraham.' He replied, 'Here I am.' Then he said, 'Do not lay a hand on the boy or do anything to him. For now I know that you have feared God, since you have not withheld your only son from me.'" You know, just an iconic story when we think about reading the book of Genesis. I remember in Sunday school as a child reading about Abraham and Isaac, and this story comes to mind. I mean, if you study the book of Genesis, you know anything about the book of Genesis, you can't help but think about Abraham being told to sacrifice his son Isaac. Now keep in mind, this is after Abraham had been given this promise by God that through his offspring, that God was going to bless the world, that through his offspring, the Messiah would come. And so this had to be puzzling to Abraham. Abraham knows that it's through his lineage, through his children, his offspring, that all this is going to happen and take place. God has promised him that. And now here God tells him to sacrifice his son. It would have to be puzzling to Abraham. It wouldn't make any sense. But what an amazing thing it is to see the faith that Abraham had, that he, even though it didn't make sense in his mind, that he trusted God enough to trust that God would provide a way, that God would make this work. And that's so helpful for us in our own life to have that perspective, that even when things don't make sense, even when we don't understand what the Lord is doing, to just trust and know that he is for us, he's not against us, and he's working all things for our good. So even if whatever situation we may find ourselves in, even if it seems strange, even if it hurts, we can trust the Lord in that situation. And later on in the New Testament, in the book of Hebrews, we're told that Abraham's faith was so strong that he believed that if need be, that God would raise Isaac from the dead. He didn't know exactly how this was going to work out, but he trusted God, and he trusted that his son would be okay, even if he sacrificed him that day. And, this is really just a picture of the cross that was yet to come. Abraham goes to sacrifice his son, and he's told, "Abraham, Abraham, stop." And God provides a substitute. God provides a substitute to be sacrificed in Isaac's place. But thousands of years later, when God's only begotten son heads up a hill called Calvary, and as he prepares to hang on that cross and die for the sins of the world, there was no substitute. There was no one else. There was no ram that could step in and take the place. And Jesus knew that. And he went and he paid the price for the world so that we might have life. And so just an amazing, amazing story of not only a picture of the cross, but just a picture of the trust that we should have in our Heavenly Father. And so I hope that blesses you. I hope that you all are doing well. I love you all and look forward to seeing you soon.